Hey guys, good morning. Welcome to Proverbs 15, which I'm excited to share with you. But before I start, I recommend that you first read the chapter yourself so that you kind of know what I'm talking about, first of all, but also so that you have your own interpretation of it. And please share that on WhatsApp so that we can read that as well. It's important to get different perspectives and just pointing out of things that we might have missed. So please don't forget to do that. Okay, I'm gonna start now. I personally really have enjoyed Proverbs because it's very poetic, and I like poetry. But I really like Proverbs 15, and there's something that really stood out to me after a lot of reading, and I find it amazing how it falls together. So I'm gonna share that with you. The first verse that I noticed and looked at really is verse 4, which says, "The soothing tongue is a tree of life, but a perverse tongue crushes the spirit." Now, other versions say a crushing words, cutting words, harsh words, but all the same, it basically means that your words have the power of life and death, and about how your words can either sow a seed and it can plant it and nurture it and watch it grow, or it can tear down and light up in fire and destroy something. And in general, I've always loved verses that talk about wisdom in speech, but I especially love this verse because of the weight it places on your tongue. It's a verse that points out how accountable you are for what you say, and how you will be held responsible for what you say, and how it has consequences. Now, why I especially found this interesting is because of verse 25, which says, "The Lord tears down the house of the proud, but he sets the widow's boundary stones in place." They don't really seem to be very related, but when I was kind of examining and trying to note down possible reasons why and instances where we would use harsh and cutting words, I realized that more often than not, it's when pride comes into place. It's when, either we're feeling insecure, or we feel wronged in some way, or we're angry. And when more often than not, when you boil it down, that's because there's a sense of pride and defense of oneself. And obviously that's connected to verse 25, where God says he'll tear down the house of the proud. And another interesting sort of thing about the two verses is that when you place them on each other, it sort of really falls in line with each other, because 4 talks about the building of something with your words, and the same with 25, where the latter part of the verse talks about how God sets the boundary stones of the widow in place. And again in verse 4, the latter half talks about crushing of the spirit, where in 25 it talks about the Lord tearing down the house of the proud. So this has really sort of fallen in place together for me, and I feel personally like God is pointing out that there is not just consequences to the people that you're saying your words to, but also in terms of consequences from God. Because when your harsh words come from a place of pride, God does say he will tear down, that house, tear down our place. Whereas when you choose humility, and when you choose words of exhortation and words that come from a pure, clean heart, God is builds you up, he raises you up, he protects you even. And I love how it's also sort of connected to the last verse, which says wisdom's instruction is to fear the Lord, and humility comes before honor. You should definitely read other versions of this verse. It's beautiful. But one such version, I think it was the Passion Translation, talks about how when you fall down and surrender in front of God, that is when you find true wisdom, when God gives you that wisdom. And out of that humility comes wisdom. And after that is where honor comes from. So it falls in line with even the two verses I've been talking about how when you react with humility, when you react with that surrender, you know, that things really do fall into place in a good way, and your honor is also looked after. Funnily enough, maybe not at that point, but I find it comforting to know that God has our back, and even with things that hurt us, that He is well aware and will fight for our honor, and it is noted in His book, and how we are rewarded for holding our tongue and for choosing humility, choosing words of life over words of death. So that is my interpretation. Let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear your perspectives as well. Bye bye.